Day of classes, though, outside Baltimore at Perry Hall High School there. Shooting happened. A 15-year-old boy opened fire in the school cafeteria. One person was seriously injured. Investigators believe the boy was being teased, possibly by other students, being bullied. Joining me this morning is attorney and author. Her name is Wendy Patrick. Also is Dr. Donna Kashani is joining us as well. She is a psychiatrist for adolescents and for children and adults as well. Good morning to both of you. Good morning. First of all, let's talk about, you wrote a book called Reading People, and I guess this is what it's all about, is trying to read these people that commit these crimes.
Well, one of the things that everybody's concerned about across the nation as we all go back to school this week and next week is, what are the red flags that one should look out for? And I feel like we talk about this, we've talked about it more in the last month, haven't we, than perhaps the last couple of years. Gun violence has erupted all across the country and in a variety of venues, and everyone wants to know, what should we have noticed? So because we're talking about the school shooting today, one of the things that sort of distinguishes this crime from some of the others is the form in which it was committed. In other words, this wasn't something that was done after school or in a particular classroom. It was a very public venue where at least one of the whole sessions was gathering for lunch. And I know we'll probably get into the whole thing later about what inspires this kind of violence, but it was different than some of the other things we've seen. What should we have been looking for?
Well, Doctor, let me ask you that. You deal with kids all the time. Is there something that parents aren't seeing in their kids that's prompting some of these random shootings and just out of nowhere, or seems like out of nowhere?
Well, if there is any history of bullying toward the child, I think that's an important factor for parents to take into consideration and guidance counselors. And any exposure to violence, I mean, something as simple as when I'm doing a history on a child and they tell me they play a lot of hours of video games, I ask them what game. And if they're playing, let's say, World of Warcraft, I ask, are you a healer in World of Warcraft, or are you some kind of a fighting knight? So it is pertinent what their daily exposure is, whether it's at school or at home, and what kind of role modeling is done by the parents.
And in this case in Baltimore, the 15-year-old, there were some of these signs that the kid was going through some changes. In fact, something he wrote on his Facebook, first day of school, last day of life, yesterday on his Facebook before he went to school.
Yes, and that's one of the things you need to really look at is what are the posts. And of course, there's 20/20 hindsight where people looked at that and go, yeah, you know, I guess some of his classmates also said that there was a change in his behavior. He grew his hair long. He had his head down on his desk all the time. So there were some changes in his behavior. And mind you, when I also talked about exposure to violence, when they went to go check the family home in which he lived, which was his mother's home, there was a sign on the front of the home that said, "We do not call 911," with a picture of a gun next to it.
Yeah, so it's right there. Talk about copycatting, because this is just another one in a long line. Can this be copycat crime?
You know, the answer is yes, and nowadays where it's so easy to be exposed to things that are happening all over the world within moments, literally. And we know that this young man had a Facebook page because that's where we get this message, last day of my life. One of the things the experts will tell you about copycat crimes, however, is that it's an individual doesn't see something on the news and decide to become a criminal. More often what we see is people that are already inclined to violence to get ideas as to how to carry out their plans. One of the things that people talk a lot about now is the James Holmes crime, and the way that was carried out may have influenced several copycatters in the future. A couple of them were foiled within the couple of weeks afterwards. Maybe it's the media exposure. Maybe it's the attention seeking. There are lots of reasons that someone would choose to commit a crime in a fashion that has just been committed by somebody else and gotten an enormous amount of attention, like James Holmes.
Right. Doctor, final question. If you have a child or you know of someone that may be acting out in this way, what's the best thing to do, first thing to do?
Well, first of all, make sure that you have good communication between the home and the school. So if there's any evidence in either place, bring your stories together. If you have concern about another student, let's say in your school, bring that to the attention of your guidance counselor. Let people know that you are concerned. Do a mental health assessment. I have had to do assessments on children where they made, let's say, some kind of a threat or something was written in something at school, and the schools immediately do not pass go, do not collect $200, have you assess that child and make sure that they're not at risk to the people around them. So do your due diligence, and then treat the mental health issues if they're there.
All right, Doctor, thank you. Wendy Patrick, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.